I was thinking about there's a distinction. There was something that I found puzzling regarding the character of Ivar on the concept of war. Ivar was a character who loves war, who loved war. Well, anyway, let's simplify things by speaking in present tense. Ivar is a character that loves war, and that's simple enough, right? It's like it's simple to understand. Ivar loves war, and therefore he will do anything to see that war succeeds over peace, right? This is what I understood from Ivar. But the plot twist with Ivar, it was very surprising, and I even wondered why. I even wondered why the author went out of their way to do this. Is that they went and specified that Ivar, although Ivar loves war, he doesn't want to be the cause of war. That was very surprising. That was surprising even to his own brother. And I was thinking, why the distinction? If why the distinction? The way I understand Ivar is that he loves war, but he doesn't want to be the one responsible for it. But like at the same time, the contradiction with that is that when you present an argument of peace, he's going to reject it because he has very justifiable reasons, or rather he has his own justifiable reasons for war. He loves war so much that he will blind himself to peace, right? He will always favor war over peace. So if you present an argument to him that, okay, we can approach this peacefully, we don't have to escalate things, you don't have to think about it this way, they're not actually our enemies. He's so convinced that war is inevitable that he's not going to listen to anything else, and he will present the best argument he has for why he should go to war. And it's like, yeah, he thinks war is inevitable. And of course, that is the thing. That is the reasonable thing with Ivar. He thinks war is inevitable, and I believe this too, right? I'm not. What's his name? Thorfinn is extreme in his pacifism. He's too extreme. That it will never work. It's just not possible. That is what's unfortunate with Thorfinn. And normally you would have to agree with a guy like Ivar. As infuriating as he was in the beginning, I think he still made sense, right? But the thing with Ivar is that he kind of goes too far. He kind of goes too far. Like, he's the kind of guy that will escalate a situation instead of seeking for peaceful ways to solve it. So that was the issue with Ivar. Although the trick with Ivar is that he was not the kind of guy that would want to start a war, but at the same time, he would not be the kind of guy to seek peace, right? It's like he will find any reason to go to war as long as he can justify it. But he doesn't want to be the person to cause it, right? That sort of draws him back. But as bad as one may see, or one may think Ivar is, what baffles me, and what I understand now, or I believe that I understand, there's a distinction between Ivar, and there is a staggering distinction between Ivar and the other men of war, being Thorkel, Floki, Garm, and Galki, the native of Vinland. I only understood this distinction after the fact, after Thorfinn mentions. After Thorfinn mentions that he understood Garm, he understood Galki's plan without having to understand his native language, right? Because he has seen men like him, right? That being Thorkill, Floki, and Garm, right? These men of war who do not feel pain, or rather, these men of war who will do anything for war, right? It's like they don't feel, of course, they feel physical pain, but, to them, physical pain is more like, an inconvenience. But an inconvenience worth compromising on for the sake of war, for the glory of war, right? It's like they don't, what he means by of course, they don't feel pain. He means, emotional pain or psychological pain for the actions that for the immorality of war. They don't feel that, right? The suffering that war brings on their people, the suffering that war may bring upon them or their people, in part because war doesn't really bring any substantial suffering to them. The physical is easy to ignore, right, for people like that. The psychological, men like that, they don't, the best way you can understand men like that, or at least the way that I conceptualize these men, of course, you would call them psychopaths, right? Floki, Garm, Thorkill, and Galki. These men are psychopaths, and I find it sort of, it's very sad. I want to see if Thorfinn has a plan, or if his way will work out somehow, even though he's living under an extreme idea that just continuously keeps failing. And the story is so brilliant that it shows this. He's such a brilliant writer. It's absolutely unbiased. It's like every side is explored to its very extreme, right? To its best capacity. It's a very gripping story in that it's so honest on both sides, right? It's so honest, and it's like it's just beating Thorfinn over the head with how wrong he is. Even though I feel like the writer agrees with Thorfinn, or at least that's what I understood from the interview I saw with him and Garnt. As I understood him, he's he doesn't like war, right? And I suppose you could see that in his original work, Planetes, right? The Planetes, I couldn't finish Planetes. I was actually quite surprised it even existed, but it's an anime. They made it in some early 2000s, 2001 or so. Planetes, I was quite bored with it, and because it didn't really have any action, right? It's like a jarring juxtaposition from the Vinland Saga, or like the gripping story of Vinland Saga, right? It's like he said that he was trying to explore the same concepts that he's exploring in Vinland Saga, but Planetes was not all that much of a success, right? In part because it was just not as exciting, and you could see how much. Part of the reason I dropped it was, well, it was in part because it lacked it lacked violence. It lacked the edge of violence, right? It's just not, it's like you watch Vinland Saga, you read Vinland Saga, and then you watch, Planetes, and it's like, what is it? Are these the same people? Is this the same guy that made this? Right? It's just not the same story. It's very bland. It's very boring. So he realized why that was. He realized why that was, and he took the same themes and created Vinland Saga, right? But where was I going? Yeah. So the thing with Thorfinn is that Thorfinn is a very tragic guy, or at least it's like I don't know. No one actually really believes in Thorfinn's extreme idea of pacifism. Right, and the author is very honest in it that he shows continuously how difficult it is to achieve Thorfinn's ideal, Thorfinn's ideals, right? Thorfinn's utopia of a world without pain, or a world without war. The author he excels at breaking down that idea, how futile it is, even though there's some shred of hope. I want to see if there's some sort of profound compromise, or middle ground. Like I want to see if the story can surprise me somehow regarding Thorfinn's idea. It's like, generally, if you take an extreme position, generally speaking, it's just not right. It's just not going to work out. But in any case, there's, Thorfinn said, where's the panel? Thorfinn said that his life's work, his life's goal is to find out how to deal with men like Thorkel and Garm and Galki and the other guy, right? But it's just not possible. It's like his life's goals are impossible. They're too impossible, in part because they're too extreme. It's like, you could say it's extremely good, but like it's not possible. It's not possible. In any case, these men, how do you deal with someone who does not feel pain, right? How do you deal with people like that? They remind me of these guys, these ISIS members, the October 7 attacks. It's like, they knew full well that in massacring all those Israelites, those Israelis, they knew full well that they were essentially like, they knew it. They did that massacre knowing they would be utterly decimated, right? They knew a lot of their people would die. They knew Israel would seek vengeance and kill their people, 40 times over. They killed some 1,000 people that day, and Israel hits them, with a vengeance of 40,000 more. Like a death toll of 40,000 more. But the thing is, they don't care. Like, they don't care about their own people, right? Like these men, the way they make war is that they will start a war at the cost of everything, right? At the cost of their people, and at the cost of their own lives, right? Kamikaze pilots, and of course, strapping themselves with explosive vests, right? With explosive vests, they take their own lives. Like, how do you defeat a person who will sacrifice everything for the sake of wanting to kill you? It's like, you can't solve that problem. It's like, you can't solve that problem. You cannot reason with people like that. It's like trying to reason with a zombie. It's like, you cannot reason with a person like that. It's like, Thorfinn will never be able to solve this issue because he's unwilling to kill. And there are several ways you can deal with these people, I suppose, but none are as effective as simply just wiping them out, right? Like, nothing is as effective, because as long as you keep them alive, they will always just keep coming back, right? It's like, ants, roaches, right? It's just not, you cannot solve these people. You cannot solve these people. So, Thorkel and the like, these men, one of the earliest panels I remember of Thorkel, and I didn't think he would be such a long-lived character, or even as powerful as he turned out to be. One of the earliest panels I remember of Thorkel is, like this opening scene of Thorkel betraying his own people, and being bought by by what? The Celtics, right? He betrays his Anglo-Saxon brothers, and he's bought out by the Celtics, just because he wanted to fight. It's like, these guys offered me a higher price, so I will hire myself out to fight my own people. It's like, I don't really care about you guys. They're screaming at him. They're, how dare you betray us? How dare you? How dare you? It's like, dude, I don't care. I just want to fight. I just want war. I just want this war to drag on for as long as it possibly can. And these men are very much capable of killing their own people, right? Like Ivar, it's like Ivar, the killing of a comrade, this thing Ivar took seriously, right? It's like Ivar, that was the one thing that distinguished him from these men, right? To a certain degree, you can understand Ivar. He was like an extreme nationalist. He loved war because, of course, the thrill of the war, but also in part because he liked the idea of fighting for his comrades, fighting for his people, being the leader, the guy that brings home the bread, right? He really loved that. That really appealed to him. It's like you could understand him. You could understand him on a human level, right? You could reason with Ivar, as annoying and irrational as he was, and trigger happy as he was. He was the kind of guy who would swoop in to start a war on just about anything, right? But you could understand him. Like his pride, the pride that he took in war, right? He was a warrior. He was a righteous warrior, you could say, right? And also, a true warrior, you could say Thorfinn is a true warrior, or you could say a person like Ivar is a true warrior. One who revels in war and the deeds that he comes to accomplish in war. You could say either Thorfinn is the true warrior who, a true warrior needs no sword, or you could say Ivar is the true warrior, the man who picks up the sword and slays his enemies for the sake of his country, right? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think. I think you could say they're both warriors. I'm not really taking any specific sides. I find it hard to distinguish who is a true warrior and who isn't, right? It's like, like what is a warrior? It really depends on what you define as a warrior. It's like they're both warriors, right? It's like, this is a warrior of a certain kind and this is a warrior of another kind. It's like, it's okay, right? They're both, you can call them both warriors. That's okay. But yes, Galki also, he distinguished himself, or rather, he added himself to the fold of those men who Thorfinn recognizes as impossible to reason with, to deal with, because, it's like he sees that this man is willing to kill his own people, just to continue war, right? Like, these people, they don't feel anything towards their comrades, right? They will sacrifice their comrades if it means that the war continues on, right? And they have no fear for their lives. It's like, what's his name? Stark almost kills Galki. He almost kills him, but he fails, and Galki one-ups him, and then he kind of just laughs. He's like, ha. It's like, yeah, you almost had me, but well, it didn't work. So now I'm the one that ended up getting you. It's like he was vulnerable for that one moment, but then he wasn't. It's like he wasn't shaken at all. It's like, okay, yeah, it's like, yeah, you almost had me, but I got you, but so now let's just continue, right? Let's just continue. It's like these guys, they have no fear. No fear for for physical or psychological pain. It's all just. Garm was like that. Garm was like that too. Garm also killed his own comrades, if I remember correctly. There's panels where he does that. Flocky, well, all I really remember from Flocky is that he was particularly infuriating. He was a very infuriating guy. Anyway, I don't have much to say about Flocky. I never really saw him as such. He was mostly just really annoying. But yeah, Thorfinn is right in that. Yeah, these people are simply impossible to deal with. The thing about Thorkel is that you could say Thorkel is extremely charismatic, right? He's very charismatic. He's a fan favorite. He really is. He's an extremely charismatic psychopath, right? And you could say even that Thorkel really, it's like Thorkel is okay as long as he's fighting on your side, right? That is essentially the crux of Thorkel. It's like you're okay with him as long as he's fighting on your side, but he's an impossible guy to deal with, and being as strong as he is, right? And the only time I ever saw Thorkel, it's like the only time I ever saw, a person like Thorkel express pain. It's like the only time a person like this expresses pain, or rather, I suppose the only comrade he ever really cared for was Thorfinn's father. Thor's the legendary warrior. It's like the only time he expressed any kind of pain was towards a fellow warrior who he deemed to be either equal or greater than him, right? It's like, it's like the thing about these guys is that they respect the strong. It's like they only respect the strong, and that's it. And Thorkel was deeply hurt when Thor's betrayed the Jomsvikings, and he decided to denounce war and basically just f*** off, right? Just f*** off and start a family. And Thorkel was deeply betrayed by that. He was deeply pained by that, because this is someone whom he saw as a rival, and as a brother, right? It's like Thor's did the impossible to Thorkel. Thorkel could not comprehend Thor's when he decided to give up war. And Gaoki, on the matter of respecting power or respecting strength, Gaoki, he stabs what is that woman? What is that? Thorkel's daughter. Gaoki stabs Cordelia, and they shoot Cordelia with several arrows in the back. She stands. She shrugs it off. She plants herself in the doorway. She tells them, "You're not entering this house." And Gaoki stabs Cordelia in the kidney. In the side of her stomach. But the spear just does not go through, right? Like the spear, the stone spear, it does fall, right? Like it doesn't do anything at all. And at that point he realizes, this is probably their strongest warrior. This is their strongest warrior. Whatever I'm looking for isn't even here, so we should probably leave, right? I'm not even gonna bother with this. I'm not gonna bother. Like it's like if you want to live long, don't bother with fighting, this 7-foot tall giant, right? It's like, this man is their strongest warrior. Now of course Cordelia is actually a woman, but it's like it's strength and nothing else. So Thorfinn, it's like you're rooting for Thorfinn, and you're reading the story and you want to see how far can he take his extreme pacifism, his extreme ideology of a world without war. How far can he take it until he gives up? or or is it going to be that there's something profound waiting at the end? Maybe something that he will do that you never really expected. It's like, okay, this is a hopeless idea, but I'm waiting, I'm watching you to see if there's something of a new perspective, or something I never realized that was possible. Something that you could possibly do within the constraints of this extreme idea, of this of this extreme debuff. It's like you're playing on hard mode and you don't even have all the tools, right? It's like playing a game on friggin' hard mode, and it's like you're like at half health, and you don't have all the upgrades. You don't have the sword upgrades. It's like, yeah, you're a decent fighter, but like everything is everything is a debuff. You don't even have a sword. Like you're fighting with your fists. Like these guys have like iron spears that can cleave you in half, and like, yeah, they're shooting arrows at you, and you have no weapon in your hand. And so you're running in the woods, and they're shooting arrows at you, and all you can really do is like all you can really do is die, until someone comes and picks you up and nurses you back to health. So like I'm trying to find, like, I want to see an underlying message that everyone's missing, or like an underlying solution, or I want to see if there's some twist to his idea, right? I want to see if there's some great twist. Knowing the history of the Vikings that came before Christopher Columbus 500 years earlier, it's like I don't think there's going to be. I mean, it's like the history's already been written, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm hoping for. Like, I don't know what I'm hoping for.
Some sort of light, some revelation, a little light within the darkness. Yes,